DW Africa Link.
Cameroon has chosen a leader. The incumbent, Paul Biya, has just secured an 8th term in office after official results by the Constitutional Council were announced on Monday. But the main opposition candidate, Issa Chiroma Bakari, has rejected the re-election of Cameroon's long-time ruler as deadly street protests shake the country. So what's fueling this unrest, and what does Biya's hold on power mean for Cameroon's future? That's what's coming up. I am Eddy Micah Jr., and you are welcome to Africa Link, the podcast connecting you to the stories that matter.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
He is not going anywhere. After more than 4 decades in power, the world's oldest president, 92-year-old Paul Biya, is declared the winner again. The top court says he took over 53% of the vote, with his former ally turned challenger, Issa Chiroma Bakari, receiving 35%. But joy hasn't swept the streets. Instead, it's outrage. Clashes in Douala left at least 4 protesters dead and more than 100 in jail as authorities cracked down on demonstrators demanding credible results. There's a lot at stake here, with high youth unemployment, growing inequality, conflict in the English-speaking regions, militant threats in the north, among others. For more on this, let's bring in Dorcas Ekupe, DW correspondent in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Also with me is Akuhmbohm Mac Anthony, political analyst in Douala. Hello and welcome to Africa Link. Dorcas, so official results are out. Paul Biya remains president. You are on the ground. What's been the reaction so far?
Well, supporters of the Biya regime are all happy. They are celebrating that President Paul Biya has been re-elected. But that has not been the case with supporters of the opposition candidate Issa Chiroma Bakari, as they did not welcome the news. Protests had erupted in Douala. The situation has further escalated with the news that President Paul Biya has been re-elected. Reports say that protesters have stormed the streets, blocking major entrances in Douala, and equally setting fires and even destroying some stores, because to them, they think that the announcement by the Constitutional Council does not reflect the will of the people. And we also have Issa Chiroma Bakari, who is in Gawra, saying that gunshots are being fired at his residence, and he's calling on the international community to see what's happening in Cameroon. As to him, Cameroon is not a state where the law is being respected. And so there's a lot of chaos ongoing. Before the announcement, we saw 4 people died in Douala while protesting. People are just so angry as to why Chiroma and not Biya was not made the president.
So basically, you're painting a picture of chaos, as you put it. I'm just wondering what authorities are doing to calm tensions. Is there anything that you can point to?
Oh, well, as of now, authorities have not done anything. You may even be shocked that some opposition leaders were arrested. We have the case of Jukam, who was arrested, and nothing has been done yet. Several other persons were arrested in Douala, and even the international community has not said anything yet. We saw the African Union, who did send an observer. But apart from that, they have not said anything yet. And but for the US, that was trying to say that no, Cameroon should not, the Constitutional Council's result should reflect the will of the people. But I will tell you that as of now, people are being arrested. So not much has been done by local authorities.
Thank you very much for that, Dorcas. Let me come to you, Mac Anthony. I'm just wondering why people are protesting that much if indeed the official result has been announced, placing Biya as the winner for the 8th term. Why are people out protesting?
Okay, thank you very much for that opportunity. Cameroon is a nation where in reality, we believe that there is democracy. The democracy we are talking about is that which is determined by those in power. And if you see the people on the streets actually rioting and protesting, it is not because they are celebrating. They are actually protesting, considering the fact that they thought they voted for somebody else and their votes have been stolen. That's the opinion that is out there right now. As I'm talking to you in the city of Douala, there are, I think I want to call them war cars that have been sent on the streets with military people, not with military, not even just the police, who are actually opening fire, not just tear gas this time around on protesters.
On the one hand, these are official results that have been released. Are the people then suggesting that the results are not credible and that the elections were not free and fair?
Yes, I think what the people hold is that the elections were not free and fair. You know, the Constitutional Council in Cameroon is the highest body that determines who, let's say, proclaims the winner of the election. I think the government in place and as well as the regime has been a regime that rules with an iron fist, and so it is something that is disturbing. We are all crying for peace. We want peace in Cameroon, and we expected that the government should use a different strategy in their playbook to handle the situation. But it seems as if the military option is always the option that is used in handling protesters' manifestations in Cameroon.
You're obviously throwing the spotlight on demonstrators against the results. On the other hand, there are also quite a number of young people who are cheering and supporting the fact that Paul Biya has once again won. Why are there still so many people in support of him? And what does that really then say about the result and how people view it?
You see, it is possible to always have a handful who support, irrespective of what situation. There are people who always be in support. There are those in Cameroon that feel like everything needs money to handle. They pay, they even go ahead to pay young people to step out on the streets. And considering the fact that poverty has been weaponized in Cameroon and is used by the regime to actually rule the nation or lead the nation, let me use the word rule, it is possible for people to step out knowing what they are going to gain after. And I am not against that people should celebrate their victory. What is disturbing is the fact that even if there are people who are celebrating the victory, those who are protesting shouldn't be considered as enemies, but they should be seen as citizens who are actually decrying fraud, which they were supposed to look into.
Thank you very much, Mac Anthony, for that. Dorcas, let me come back to you. You know, we're doing this recording on the 27th of October. The election date itself was 12th October. Are there any key things to point out during the election, before the election even, and after the election that makes people sort of toe that line of opposition won this election?
Oh wow, Eddie. You see, when you look at the turnout of this year's presidential election, you would understand that people really want change, and that's why you saw people massively going out to vote. And I think one of the reasons why people would want to doubt this election, just look at what the government is saying, that there was a huge turnout in the English-speaking part of the region, which we know is not really the case. When you look at the Anglophone region, you see that there's just really a stark reality, marked by fear and uncertainty and a threat to violence.
And Mark, we were talking about this even earlier, and you understand the situation to be a deliberate attempt to reduce the speed of the internet during such times in Cameroon. Is that the norm?
Okay, you see, back in 2016, 2017, when the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest actually started, the government took it upon them to cut internet from the Northwest and Southwest region, which was a deliberate act. And that is a precedent that actually makes us believe that during these contentious, in fact, I want to use the word contentious because it was the fight within this period of time has actually been different from the other years. They actually did it deliberately, as I can say, in order to limit communication out of the country. Is not natural. It's something that has been done deliberately, as I believe, because we have a precedent that shows that the government has that capacity to do so.
What does it really mean for Cameroon, for Paul Biya to remain president? This is the 8th time he's won the presidential election. What does it mean for Cameroon moving forward?
We are seeing that for the past years, he has done everything possible to maintain himself in power. And if you look at this particular election, he is of age 92. And in this presidential election, he actually doesn't go out for campaign. I think Cameroon should be the very first nation in the world where somebody wins a democratic election without going out for campaigns. So it is funny, but it happens. And I think if you ask me what it means for him, relation to him, it is something that he needs to accomplish. I don't think he wants to leave power till he dies, because considering his age, on normal basis, he should be resting. He should be, after having served the nation for more than 50-something years, he should have been resting and taking good care of himself and his children taking care of him. But as we see, he is insisting on being in power, which means that he thinks it is a do or die issue. So many politicians seems to be contented also with just might be the second position or the third position, and Cameroonians are the ones actually suffering. That's why I'll tell you, this year Cameroonians didn't go out to vote because they wanted to vote a politician in power. They actually wanted change. And the reason why some of them are actually protesting at the moment is because they think that they went out massively. If you look at the results from the diaspora around the globe, you realize that everywhere the opposition won across the nations of the world. But when it comes to Cameroon, we were surprised to realize that the reverse of what the people were expecting was read to them today, with Mr. Biya coming up with 53.66%. The second came up with 35.19%, which to them, they couldn't swallow it.
What more can Paul Biya do with his 8th term in office?
Yeah, thank you. I think Mr. Biya has some projects he started in his past terms which have not been completed. I think he will be trying to use this particular last term, I want to call it last because of his age, to make sure he round up, accomplish the projects that he started. But on a normal basis, Cameroonians are asking the question, if you have not been able to accomplish the things you wanted to accomplish in 43 years, how will you be able to accomplish them in 7 years? But like I said, there are some projects that he started, which I think he want to push for it to be completed so that it can become a legacy for him, which I don't think Cameroonians are even going to be celebrating it or might be appreciating it, due to the fact that he has spent a lot of time there.
During such times, when the opposition speaks with unity and with a loud voice, changes can happen. How unified and strong is the opposition to really be a strong opposition to President Paul Biya?
To be sincere, Cameroon does not have a strong opposition in the sense that the opposition is not united. They are not united, and that has been the cause and reason why Mr. Biya has been winning elections continuously. But this year is different because the electorate actually created an alliance with a particular candidate whom they thought could give them what they wanted. So it was just, that's why if you heard during the campaign, people were saying this is going to be a referendum where it is either going to be, do you want Mr. Biya to remain in power or not, which was supposed to be a yes or no. And it is surprising to a lot of people that Mr. Issa Chiroma, who was working with the government and just resigned from the government 3 months before elections, is stepping up, and he is the second, considering the fact that the people went for him. The people decided to sanction the opposition parties for refusing to come together to create a coalition or maybe an alliance that will permit them to work like a single people. So the electorate decided to say, okay, we are going to choose our own candidate and we are going to vote for that candidate. That is why the people are actually feeling bad. But the opposition, I don't think till now, are showing any signs of the unity till now. They are not showing any signs of unity because we have opposition parties that went for this election and they had return reports of the almost 31,000 different polling stations, which could be used as proof to show whether the opposition won or not. But some of these political leaders refused actually presenting the return reports, and that is a sign to show that they do not care about the people. They care about themselves and their parties.
Okay, great. Dorcas, let me just ask this as we try to wrap this up. One of the major challenges in Cameroon is the Anglophone crisis, right? We've been talking about this for a while. What does another term of Paul Biya mean for the crisis? What do people expect this time around?
I think that people are expecting the president to do everything what he can with the last years is having to really make sure that the Anglophone crisis comes to an end. You know, before the election, there was a period of lockdown for almost 1 month. You know, people were indoors. And so this is frustrating. How do the population cope? How do they live? How do they survive with major lockdowns on and off? And people are expecting that the problem should be solved, that the government should make sure that they should do all within their possible means to put it on an end and not to anger Cameroonians with what? You know, sometimes the government has a way of responding back that triggers and angers the local population rather than calm situation, like, you know, the Minister of Interior Affairs who, you know, is always there talking things to Cameroonians and saying if you speak anyhow, you're going to be locked up. He's always there threatening Cameroonians. And so this is not helping the matter. So Cameroonians are expecting that those in the Biya government should do all they can to ensure that, I mean, Cameroonians in that part of the country, they live without fear, you know, because of the situation happening there.
Right. And when you ask ordinary Cameroonians, the challenges they face are many, right? Economic challenges, high youth unemployment. What do they expect from Paul Biya again, since it's under the same Paul Biya that these challenges have been increasing?
I could tell you, Eddy, most Cameroonians are jobless. And so the one thing that's on the lips of many Cameroonians you see around today is we need jobs. We need to work. You know, true, Paul Biya has created several universities, state universities. And if you compare the years to years and now, you could say that, no, in that domain, Paul Biya has tried to make sure that there are universities available. Then after that, what next? So Cameroonians are jobless. They want to work, you know, that's what Cameroonians they want. They want sectors which are supposed to be developed to be done so that they could live decent lives. So most Cameroonians are just wanting to have a better life. The economic situation is just so discouraging. That's why you see youth wanting to fly out of the country. The greener pasture is on the other side. So Cameroonians want Biya to develop the country, give a chance to young people to lead as well.
I'm going to come to you, Mac Anthony, as we wrap this up. So what happens next? Opposition is not having it, although as things stand officially, the result has been declared and Paul Biya is going to remain president for an unprecedented 8th term in office. If the opposition really has a problem with the declaration, what can the opposition do? Is there any way that the opposition can change the decision after it has officially been announced now?
As of now, there is nothing more to be done because it has been officialized. The last body that should have been able to annul or might be permitted for them to tender some petitions or problems is the Constitutional Council. And the Constitutional Council actually listened to some of the petitions, then unvalidated them, then has finally said, okay, the winner is Mr. Biya. And one of the things I'll tell you is, irrespective of how strong the opposition can be or decides to be in Cameroon, as long as the Constitutional Council is seen as might be an arm of the ruling CPDM, because almost every member of the Constitutional Council are members of the ruling CPDM, it becomes practically difficult for another person to win. And that notwithstanding, ELECAM, which is supposed to be the Independent Election Commission of the nation, is also considered by Cameroonians as an extended arm of the CPDM, because those at the hem and at the top of the party, of the body, were kind of sympathizers or members of the ruling CPDM. So if you ask an opposition member in Cameroon to go fighting against the present result, they'll tell you it is just going to be wastage of time. Okay. And that is really, really disheartening to Cameroonians who are thinking that maybe they could use the ballot box as a means to bring change.
In short, are we saying it is what it is? Nothing can stop Paul Biya and his government, basically. Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. As of now, there's nothing that can stop him.
Thank you very much, Mac Anthony. Now, Dorcas, I'm going to give you another chance, if your network allows, to wrap this up for us. Your final words.
Okay, Eddie, my final words. When I look at the international community, and I don't see much intervention, say for the U.S. government, which is called on the Constitutional Council to make sure that the decision of the council reflects the will of the people. And, they've cited the fact that the government is using repression to kind of shut down people.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing these insights with us. Dorcas Ekupe, DW correspondent in Yaoundé, Cameroon, and Akuhmbohm Mac Anthony, political analyst in Douala, Cameroon. Thank you both very much. As Biya edges closer to half a century in power, the big question remains, will the country's leaders listen to its restless youth, or will mountain frustrations explode into something even harder to control? Let's hear some voices from the streets of Cameroon after Paul Biya wins another election.
The population knows very well that the Constitutional Council and the Electoral Commission are just an extension of the regime. We were told, everybody is told to wait for the results from the Constitutional Council, but the only requirement to be a member of that council is to show and demonstrate loyalty to the current regime.
Politics affects everybody, whether you're a doctor, a plumber, a bike rider, or an entrepreneur like myself, a farmer, whatever you do, our lives are basically decided by politics. So if we don't hold our leaders accountable, then we are basically leaving talks to decide our futures, and that's very dangerous.
A lot of us who have come up to speak People fear for our lives. People fear for our safety, because that is the country we find ourselves in. We find ourselves in a country that is dictatorship instead of democracy. But we don't know what will happen. And we have still decided that despite whatever will happen, we will not keep quiet. We will still speak up. It is time for our voices to be heard. As youths, the future of this country, it is time for us to speak up. We cannot keep living in fear.
At the time of recording on the 27th of October, clashes continue across the country between protesters and security forces. At least 4 people have been reportedly killed so far. Critics accuse Biya of leading Cameroon from a period of relative stability into one of crisis and conflict. We'd like to hear from you, so share your thoughts with us on Facebook at DW Africa. Listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our DW Africa YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. This show was co-produced and edited by Isaac Mugabe, and I am Eddy Micah Jr. Thanks for listening.
DW, made for minds.